We begin with breaking news this afternoon. 14 children and a teacher were killed in a shooting at a Texas elementary school. It happened in Uvalde. That is about 80 miles west of San Antonio. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Morgan Young. Let's get straight to William Joy, who is following this breaking news from our newsroom. William.
Yeah, Morgan, Governor Greg Abbott gave that update in a press conference just a few moments ago, confirming 14 students were killed along with one teacher. Beyond that, we know that several hospitals in the area are also treating people. Abbott said they are still gathering information, but that the shooter is an 18-year-old who lived in Uvalde and used a handgun, possibly even a rifle during the attack. Officers shot and killed the shooter, Abbott said. 2 officers were injured in the process. They are, though, expected to be okay. Take a listen to what he said just now.
What happened in Uvalde is a horrific tragedy that cannot be tolerated in the state of Texas. And there is swift action being taken by local law enforcement as well as the Texas Department of Public Safety.
District first reported this shooting just a little bit after noon today, saying that it happened at Robb Elementary School. Now, that's a school for 2nd to 4th graders. And according to its calendar, they were supposed to be done for the summer on Thursday. And the ATF and FBI are on scene, and San Antonio police, which, as you mentioned, about 90 minutes away, said they are also assisting. Right now, we're continuing to gather information on our own. We'll share it with you right here on WFAA as soon as we get it, and online at WFAA.com. Live in the newsroom, I'm William Joy.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger, as to what follows. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of you. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here, and as well as on Patreon, we are putting up the archives steadily. So please join us on Patreon for the content there on Patreon as well. Family, not even a couple of weeks after the massacre in Buffalo, we have this story that just broke today. I was planning on doing a completely different live, and the next thing you know, I see this story on my feed all over the place. And this story, of course, the lives that we do are always important, but because this story just broke out and we just finished talking about this a couple of days ago about these killings and whatnot, just a few days later, there is another mass murder in the States of school children in Texas. And when we look at our situation here in the West, as Muslims, as Black folk, we have to consider what our position is in terms of our environment. Like, what do you mean? Right now, we are living in times of fitna. And ever since I've been Muslim, way back 30 years ago, I've been hearing Imams talk about the times of fitna. But this stuff that we are witnessing right now is something new. Even the weather is different. The environment is different. The way that people think and act and behave is different. There is something evil amiss. And it's just right there over the horizon. So when this story broke out, and I'm watching this, as more and more of these types of mass murders begin to happen, you're going to find a generation that becomes desensitized to it. As much of the world is becoming desensitized to, corruption and wickedness and evil, And so when I saw this story, it reminded me of this hadith, and I'd like to share it with you. You know, this is one of the first hadith I read when I first became Muslim, and it's in Sahih Bukhari. Just let me share this with you, inshallah. Right, so y'all can see this, and these are the types of hadith that we're missing. And I'm gonna continue right now, inshallah. Just let me share this with y'all. 1 second. Where are we here? Yeah, there it is. 1 second, guys. Let me get this for you. So, as you can see, I looked up this word Al-Harj, Al-Harj, and I never forgot that word from the first time I read this hadith, many years ago. And some of you might wonder, what is this word Al-Harj, right? So, it's a hadith that comes up over and over in Sahih Bukhari, right? And it's narrated by Abu Hurairah and others, right? So this hadith, it says, time will pass rapidly. The Prophet he's talking about the last days, the end times. Okay? And he's saying, time will pass rapidly. Good deeds will decrease, and miserliness will be thrown in the hearts of the people. And Al-Harj, right, will increase. Al-Harj. And this word, it always stuck out to me, right? Because the way that the hadith was, right? And I'm like, what is Al-Harj? Because they wrote it even in the English translation. They put Al-Harj, right? And so the Sahaba, they asked, what is Al-Harj? What is the Harj, right? What is Al-Harj? And he replied, it is killing. It is killing, right? So in the Arabic, you can see here, where is it? It is Al-Qatl, Al-Qatl. It is killing. It is killing. It is killing. It is killing. So now I want y'all to think. Is time moving quickly in our time? Yes or no? Put it in the chat, please. And are good deeds decreasing? As a matter of fact, we know the good deeds are decreasing because it's very easy for people to post their wicked deeds all over their social media. And they have no problems doing that. So put in the chat, are good deeds decreasing? Is time moving quickly? Do we find miserliness amongst the people? Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, when he was alive, he was world renowned, not just in Saudi Arabia, but world renowned for his generosity. So much so that the stories of his generosity started coming up after he died, because people started realizing how generous he was when he passed. They would be getting money. They wouldn't know where it was from. When the Sheikh, rahimahullah, when he passed away, they realized it was Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, was sending them money. Since Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, since he died, we haven't seen a generous person like that for the ummah yet. Not even remotely close. But there's more. There are more ahadith, right? If you look in here, narrated by Abdullah and Abu Musa, the Prophet said, near the establishment of the arrow, there will be days during which religious ignorance will spread. Okay? Religious ignorance will spread. Knowledge will be taken away. It will just vanish. And then there will be Harj. And Al-Harj means killing. In our time, the trend is that the people or the youth that are growing up in this particular era, they are not attached to scholars. They're not attached to ulama at all. They are attached to Islamic court jesters and entertainers. And they are incredibly intellectually lazy. They don't read books, and they prefer to get dawah points off of TikTok videos. So, of course, knowledge will decrease. But for those of us who've been Muslim for a long time, it's not even so much of a gradual process of this disappearance of knowledge. It's like it's happening almost all at once. It's like happening all at the same time. For those of us who are older, they know what I'm talking about. It's like knowledge is disappearing so quickly, and ignorance is spreading so fastly, so rapidly. That if you speak the truth, you're going to be seen as an extremist. Over here on the Feachaz, we habitually give work to your Tubian Da'i elite, because they are so irresponsible and reckless. And they do all kinds of reckless things. And those are the ones who have thousands and thousands of views and followers. These people who lend their voices as spokespersons for the religion of Islam without any qualifications whatsoever. And the ones with the qualifications who have studied, those are the ones that they attack. They attack the ones with the PhDs and the masters and whatnot. Not to mention the death of so many scholars in my lifetime anyway, so many big scholars. The death of Sheikh Albani, Sheikh Uthaymeen, and Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah. Mind you, all three of those scholars, they died within the time span of a year, okay? They died all within the time span of a year. First, Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, he was the first to die. Then Sheikh Albani died. Then almost a year later, Sheikh Uthaymeen died. That was a massive blow to the Ummah. Then you have all these big scholars, Sheikh Albani's students, Sheikh Hassan Ali Halabi, Salim al-Hilali, so many ulama, Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah, Muhammad Rahman al-Jami, all these big scholars, just one after the other. And right now, with scholars on that particular level, there, in my opinion, there weren't scholars on the level of Sheikh Albani, Sheikh bin Baz, Sheikh Uthaymeen, right? But close to it, there may be like one or two that I know of in the world. And they're getting up there as well. And we see when these scholars, when they pass, what they're going to be replaced with. When you lose an alim, when you lose a scholar, you're not just losing a person, you're losing an entire legacy. You lose a library. You lose encyclopedias upon encyclopedias of knowledge. Here you have YouTubian superstars who put themselves in front of scholars and are bold enough not only to criticize scholars, but to outright disparage them for the sake of views and clicks, and no fear of Allah whatsoever. And so these people, they encourage this backwards, debaucherous behavior, and the youth, they start spreading it. I saw some video, I don't know how it ended up in my feed. I think somebody shared it with me actually, right? And it was Muslim sisters, bunch of sisters, right? And they're like, yeah, well, British sisters, British accent. Well, when I'm walking out with hijab, guys are looking at me and ha 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 ha, right? When you look at these women, okay, they ain't wearing hijab, they're wearing sijab. Okay, full on makeup, like full on makeup, and they're wondering why men are watching them, like it's some sort of piece of rocket science or something like that. So they missed the mark. They missed the goal of hijab, which is the goal of hijab is to draw attention away from you. They wear it in such a way to draw attention towards them. And then it's like, well, I don't know why all these people are staring at me and stuff. This is what it's come down to. Thousands of views, this video, thousands, and comments and everything. Before you take that same time and ask a scholar, but what is happening is people now have become influencers, and influencing is the new Islamic knowledge. Influencing is entertainment. It's dopamine. It's something to talk about. You get me? It basically leaves out all of the actual hard work of getting Islamic knowledge and regulates the entire of Islam to opinions and talking points. So anybody who has a voice and a camera and a microphone can make a platform about Islamic knowledge and call it dawah and spread that to the people. And so you ask the average youth, well, have you listened to, any of the ulama, right? You ask them, who are the scholars in our time? They're going to tell you some YouTuber and stuff. A YouTuber. Because they really don't know who the scholars are. And there are, in our time specifically, there are few. Back when I was coming up, we said there were few then, right? But now it's at epidemic levels few. So anyway, going back to this hadith, these hadith are referencing the end times. And we see with these mass killings and these mass murders and the increase in frequency in which they are happening. It wasn't too long ago. Christchurch, the Quebec massacre, the London massacre, whatchamacallit, Sandy Grove, whatever. So many of them. So many. Buffalo recently. Not to mention people driving their vehicles, killing people in protest. There was an incel who drove his vehicle in Toronto and killed several people there. For those of you who don't know what an incel is, it's an involuntary celibate person. And we see all of these things. However, as Muslims, we are supposed to have an advantage, correct? We're supposed to have an advantage because we have this Quran, we have this Sunnah, and this Quran and the Sunnah is supposed to aid us and help us and give us an advantage and a leg up in what is happening in society today, correct? That's what it's supposed to do. But what are the Muslims doing? What are the Muslims doing? We mentioned before, and I'm going to say this openly, that the masajid today have become like churches. I remember when I used to go to church, and it was a chore. We didn't like to used to go to church, being a Catholic or whatnot. We went because we had to, okay? But if we had a choice, and I remember very clearly the psychology, me as a child, when we went to church, if we had a choice, we would not go to church. We went to church because we had to go to church. Why did we go to church? Because our parents made us go to church on Sundays. But when you went to church, it was an hour of pure boredom. It was boring, the most boring part of the entire week. And that was a Christian worshiping once a week. Okay? Christians worship once a week. Generally Sundays, Saturdays if you're Seventh-day Adventists. Okay? So we are going to church. We hate it. Absolutely hate it. And we can't wait to be old enough to not go to church. That's the masjid today. That is the masjid today. Since I've been in Ottawa, I'm not sure how, maybe some of y'all can share your stories with me, but since I've been in Ottawa, every masjid I went to, except for maybe one, okay, I heard one good khutbah, or maybe one or two good khutbahs, okay? But I've been to several masajid, and you go to the masjid, and I had just got back from, Saudi and whatnot, and then you see these youth going to the masjid with earrings and stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Like, this is new. I've been in Saudi for 9 years, right? I ain't never seen this before. They go into the masjid with earrings. These kids are in the masjid playing with their cell phones during the khutbah, and the khutbahs are boring as hell. Exactly like the church. And why is that? It's because the imams are employees of the masjid, so they don't have a voice. And even if they did, they weren't allowed to use it. And they make sure they get the most yes men type employees they can possibly find. And because the Canadian government, let's be real, they have a history of making examples of imams with voices. And I will repeat, they have a history of making examples of imams with voices. Same thing in the States. So now what you have are imams who are essentially on the same page with Zadie and stuff. And the tone in which they speak is very obvious that they're on the same page with Zaddy. So the people do not get what they actually need in the masjid. What they get are Zaddy's talking points. And you can't go to Eid. You cannot go to Eid Salat anywhere, almost anywhere in Ontario, where I'm at, where I live, without having to listen to political representatives on top of the stage giving their spiel to thousands of Muslims on Eid. You can't do it. And make sure that the imam, after he speaks, after, because he has to speak after Zaddy, okay? Make sure that he gives the most generic talk possible so that we can keep getting this government money, government biscuits. And then you wonder why your youth don't want anything to do with Islamic knowledge. This is the examples that they're seeing. Who wants to aspire to be some beer belly having kurta hijama wearing imam on top of a minbar talking about on Eid? And brothers, we must continue fasting for the sake of Allah. So when these kids, they get old enough to leave the masjid, they want to leave the masjid. And thus the disappearance of knowledge. And thus the disappearance of knowledge, because nobody wants to take on the mantle of scholarship. Because we put influencers in the place of scholars. We put yes men and stooges on minbars to teach the people, and brothers, you must not drink alcohol. Like, what? You saying this on a khutbah, bro? Half the masjid is asleep. Wallahi, I said this last time. Wallahi, last time I went to Jummah, half the masjid was asleep. They were sleeping during the khutbah. We didn't have this back in the day. So since nobody is aspiring to take up this mantle, this job of scholarship, when the scholars die, the knowledge is going right with it. And when that happens, and then all you have left are your YouTubian elite to teach the people knowledge, watch out. Watch out. Right now, the YouTubian court jester show are trying to knock off anybody with actual credentials, Islamic credentials. While calling to themselves. This is happening as we speak. It is happening as we speak. And if you want to know the absolute ineffectiveness of these imams, you don't have to look no further than to look at the top most wanted list, for example, in Canada. Bilal, what you talking about? What you talking about, Bilal? Most wanted. What does that got to do with this? What you talking about? And mass killing and stuff. Y'all don't know? Y'all don't know, right? Well, let me show you. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Let me show you, shall we? This right here is Canada's most wanted, top 25. As you can see, number 1, Somali, arrested. Number 1, arrested recently. Okay. Number 4, Muslim. Number 6, Muslim. Number 7, Somali, Muslim. Number 9, Muslim. Look at this. Number 12, Muslim. Muslim again. 15, Muslim. 13, 14, and 15 are Muslim. Okay? You cannot make this stuff up. This is the top 25 most wanted in Canada. 20, Muslim. Okay? And look at these crimes they're committing. Murder. Wanted for murder. Murder. Manslaughter. Murder. Murder. Usman, attempted murder. Okay, so he didn't kill anybody, but he attempted to kill somebody. Mr. Usman Kassim. Okay? So of these top 25, almost half are Muslim. Almost half of that half are Somali. This is in Canada. Do Muslims make up almost half the population of Canada? Yes or no? Do Muslims make up almost half the population of Canada? Oh, yeah, Atipa's like, subhanallah. Subhanallah indeed. Subhanallah indeed, yes. Even if I show you this thing is happening in I believe Switzerland right now. Okay? If I show you what's happening in Switzerland right now, Kevdi's in shock. Can't be half, no way. I said almost half, okay? Almost half. Are almost half is almost half the population in Canada Muslim? Yes or no? You're saying no way. Kevdi's like, no way. But yet, almost half of Canada's most wanted are represented by Muslims. This is the usefulness of your imams and your khutbas. Jazakumullah khair. Not to mention, in I believe it's Switzerland, recently I saw a documentary. They don't have any history of gang activity. They let in Somali refugees. Entire documentary on this. Somali refugees, now they have gangsterism. Now, and then you wonder why Zaddy and them, Donald Trump and them, right, have weaponry when they say the Muslims are coming in, causing crimes and this and that. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. All y'all hearing me? Anybody can go and look this up right now. Look up Toronto's most wanted. Look up Ottawa's most wanted. Look up Minnesota's most wanted. Go look them up right now. And you tell me what you see. Why? Because again, the masjid has become the church. In France today, in France right now, today, the French government is deciding who is going to be the imams in the masajid. They are telling you who your imams are. The French government. The French government. Do you understand that? So the French government is telling you who your imams and your scholars are. And because you have gone the way of whatever Zaddy tells you has to be right, this is the result. And now you have to eat it. Y'all play too much. think it's jokes. You think it's jokes. It's not jokes. It's some serious stuff happening out here, man. A lot of the fitna and the facade that we see in the world happening right now is because not the ineffectiveness. What is the word I'm looking for? The inaction of the wider Islamic community. When Muslims started coming to the West, why did they come? They came to get Scooby snacks and butter biscuits from Zaddy, and they were very happy to participate in white supremacy. Very happy. And now these are the results. Okay? When Africans came, they were very happy to come and sit on government benefits while benefiting off the struggle of the indigenous original black folk in the West, at the same time want to distance themselves from them. And so now what you have is Muslim youth who are embracing the very worst, gutter, despicable parts of black culture. Because you didn't want to make dawah. So your children got made dawah too. A surprise. You see, y'all thought the world was just physical and dunya. And you don't understand there are some heavy spiritual parts to this dunya. And there are consequences for leaving off what Allah has commanded, especially if you have been given a blessing like the Quran and the Sunnah. So today we were supposed to talk about keep it on code, but because of this massacre that just happened, we decided to bring this up. The newest, latest killing, right? Tied in with a real prophecy from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For those of you who didn't know about this prophecy about Al-Harj, and I bet you won't forget that word ever in your life. You'll never forget that word, Al-Harj. I never forgot it the first time I saw it. Way, 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 way back. Al-Harj. Anyways, Jazakumullah khair. Thanks for everybody who joined me tonight. Tomorrow we're going to do a men's show. So we want all the brothers to show tomorrow. It was supposed to be today, right? But because this massacre happened, we're pushing it off tomorrow, right? But Jazakallah khair. Like, subscribe, share. Make sure you share this as usual. And we appreciate you all. We appreciate everybody who joined me tonight. May Allah reward you and bless you. And leave comments because that helps the algorithms. Okay, guys? Subhanaka wa bihamdik wa shalla ant wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.